And I find that interesting, especially in light of the fact that another group, the indigenous people of Biafra, its leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, is also in prison. And what is the relationship between your group and his?
Nnamdi Kanu is the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra. Our prime minister for the United States of Biafra is Simon Ekpa. That is the relationship.
Well, I hope that Biafra will be able to proceed in a manner that is not done in by any internal factions. In any case, can you please explain to us what is the relationship between this Declaration of Independence and this very newly independent state and the persecution of Christians that has been ongoing in Nigeria?
Thank you so much for that question. The persecution of Christians in Nigeria has been very troublesome. It has been very, very sad. If you The recent IRF summit that happened in Washington D.C., Nigeria was declared as one of the deadliest place for Christians to live, with a report of over 10,000 Christians killed in Nigeria. So we have a country where they practice two laws: Sharia law in the northern part of Nigeria, and then the secular law in the other parts of Nigeria. And if you are a Christian born in the northern part of Nigeria, you are forced to live by the Sharia rules. You may remember the case of Deborah, the
Yeah.
undergraduate that was stoned to death just because she made a statement to the effect that Jesus Christ helped me. And then the Muslim extremists around her were able to pursue her, drag her out from the teacher's office where she went to, and they stoned her to death and they burned her. This is just one incident. There are several incidences where Christians are murdered and buried in mass graves in Nigeria because the Nigerian state has a policy to reintegrate and rehabilitate non terrorists into the Nigerian state. So when you are a government and you reintegrate non terrorists into the country, what kind of country are you going to be building? So you have situations where the reintegrated terrorists, they take over the indigenous people's community, especially the Christian communities, like in Southern Kaduna, in Jos, in Plateau, in Biafra land. Recently, between December 2024 and today, we've had over hundreds of Christians that were killed in Biafra land by the Fulani terrorists and the reintegrated terrorists wearing Nigerian military and police uniform. This is what the Christians go through in Nigeria over the years. There is no solution. There is no comment from the government. Everybody just turns a deaf ear. And that was part of the reason why the United States of Biafra has declared their independence, because we cannot continue to live in a country where the government reintegrates non-terrorists into the police, into the military, and send them down to the Biafra territory to kill anyone that talks about Biafra, anyone that talks about their independence. And mostly, all Biafrans are Christians.
All right, lovers of freedom, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Now, today we'll bring to you updates from Finland because as it stands now, it's like the Finnish authorities have already mapped out a date for Simon Ekpa's release because there's no head. The Nigerian government are coming with so many evidence after they have single-handedly funded the political party in Finland. Now, I will allow us to listen to the full interview that happened yesterday so that you can understand what is actually happening in Finland and how our Deputy PM Ngozi have been trying so hard to make sure that the whole world realize that Simon Ekpa is never a criminal nor a terrorist. All he has been doing is to expose the criminal activities of Musa and the Nigerian state. That is what he has been doing, to expose their criminal activities in Biafra land and beyond. Now, listen to the full interview as you subscribe and listen to this full interview. You also have to turn on your notification button, share your opinions on the comment section, and make sure you like this video so that we the Biafrans and we the local media will be able to share all this information to the whole world, so that the whole world will actually realize what is happening in Biafra land, how these Musa terrorists and these Fulani Janjaweeds are keen in destroying our liberation and our freedom. Now listen.
Any idea of the jihad. They don't have any idea what they're doing to their own countries by bringing in massive numbers of Muslim migrants. They will be facing the same thing that Biafrans are facing today in the future because of their short-sighted actions. And so I applaud you and thank you for calling upon Christians, upon Biafrans, upon all free people to be resolute. This is something that we all need to take to heart and be of good courage. Dr. Ngozi Bueze, thank you very much for speaking with me, for bringing attention to these all-important issues. And I wish you and the Biafran people all success. May God bless your efforts and prosper them and enable you to establish a strong and independent state that will withstand all pressures from outside. Thank you very much again.
Thank you so much, Robert Spencer, for having me. Thank you so much, and may God bless all of us.
Thank you again, and until next time, everyone, pray, hope, and don't worry.
Thank you so much.
I'm not alive. I could have my idea. So I draw. What I have an idea at least a video me easy. But I want no chatra. All like Crimea. Our chief of staff, and do all the back and chalak name. I talk on they always open a maybe do yenisi. Mana one name for chatra. Only the movie annually. Yes. So now I never pure to I Jamaica. I didn't walk with Biafra. Konaga, which na major the town or the I will go and look for the program and the town on yaka Obidonisi because I am an I bidoyenisi. Ma like it go bidonisi. I marry Kuleba. Let us start it afresh.
Interest to a great many people, especially to those interested in the phenomenon of the persecution of Christians and wanting to resist it. Today we have as a very special guest Dr. Ngozi Bueze, who is Deputy Prime Minister of the United States of Biafra. Welcome, Dr. Bueze.
Thank you so much, Robert Spencer.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. I have to tell you right off, though, there's quite a bit of controversy about this. And so I thought, why don't we address this right away and clear the decks. In the first place, I wanted to emphasize that I, of course, am not Biafran, obviously, and I am here speaking about this issue because of the connection of Biafra and its independence to the persecution of Christians. So I'm not endorsing any group. I'm not endorsing any group either. But many people are upset. And the problem on Twitter or X is that you can't really tell who these people are or if they are who they claim to be. But some of them are saying you are not who you claim to be. And so could you please, in the first place, tell us who you are claiming to be and why we should pay attention?
Yeah, thank you so much, Robert Spencer. It's not about me claiming to be. I'm not claiming to be anything. I'm going to let you and whoever is listening know who I am. My name is Dr. Ngozi Bueze. and the Chief of Staff and the Deputy Prime Minister to the newly declared United States of Biafra.
Thank you. And now, because I'm sure you're aware, in the United States and also in the West in general, there is a great deal of ignorance about Nigeria, about Biafra, about West Africa in general. Could you please fill us in about what is Biafra, what is the United States of Biafra, and what you are trying to do and why?
Thank you so much for that question. The United States of Biafra was a nation between 1967 and 1970. We were an independent nation. And we fought a brutal war with Nigeria between that period. At that time, we had our leader, Emeka Odumebu Ojukwu. So after that war, between 1967 and 1970, when the war ended, the persecutions, the problems that existed at that period still existed to date. Problems such as marginalization, the killing of Christians, the lack of freedom, so many things going on against the indigenous people of Nigeria, of which Biafra, United States of Biafra, is one of them. So all this while, we were thinking there'll be a change. Several leaders in the past have thought there'll be a shift in making Nigeria one nation. But over the years, it has proved abortive based on several things that have been going on that have made the life of an indigenous Nigeria a risk. Let me just put it that way. So, on November 29th, 2024, United States of Biafra, all Biafra indigenes from across the world, we gathered in Finland, in Lahti, Finland, to redeclare the United States of Biafra. We've conducted a self-referendum where over 50 million Biafrans have voted to exit Nigeria. We have met all the criteria as an independent nation, which we had before actually, between 1967 and 1970. So we have to redeclare that state in November last year. So that is where Biafra stands right now. We are a sovereign nation with a government in exile and a government in homeland with 40 states in Biafra territory. So that is where we are right now.
Thank you. Now, let me ask you though, you said that the Declaration of Independence was made in Finland. And so obviously it was not made in Biafra. What is the status of your movement inside Biafra itself?
Okay, so it was a concurrent event because we already have an established structure inside Biafra. We have the 40 state administrators, whom we call governors right now. We have 15 county in each of the state. And then we have the districts and we have the wards. So while we were in Finland declaring the United States of Biafra, there were activities also in homeland, in all the 40 states of the Biafra, doing almost similar things that we were doing. So we have a very strong relationship between the United States of Biafra government, from the Biafra Republic government in exile, and the homeland de facto government. We work together.
I see. And so I understand, however, that immediately upon the Declaration of Independence, the Prime Minister of the United States of Biafra, Simon Ekpa, was arrested in Finland. Is that correct?
No, actually, it was done before the declaration, just about a week or 2 weeks before all Biafrans assembled in Finland. The Prime Minister, Simon Ekpa, was arrested by the Finnish authorities. It happened before the declaration, not after.
Is he still in custody?
He is.
Oh my. And I find that interesting, especially in light of the fact that another group, the indigenous people of Biafra, its leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, is also in prison. And what is the relationship between your group and his?
Nnamdi Kanu is the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra. Our Prime Minister for the United States of Biafra is Simon Ekpa. That is the relationship.
Well, I hope that Biafra will be able to proceed in a manner that is not done in by any internal factions. In any case, can you please explain to us what is the relationship between this Declaration of Independence and this very newly independent state and the persecution of Christians that has been ongoing in Nigeria?
Thank you so much for that question. The persecution of Christians in Nigeria has been very troublesome. It has been very, very sad. The recent IRF summit that happened in Washington, D.C., Nigeria was declared as one of the deadliest places for Christians to live, with a report of over 10,000 Christians killed in Nigeria. So we have a country where they practice two laws: Sharia law in the northern part of Nigeria, and then the secular law in the other parts of Nigeria. And if you are a Christian born in the northern part of Nigeria, you are forced to live by the Sharia rules. You may remember the case of Deborah, the undergraduate that was stoned to death just because she made a statement to the effect that Jesus Christ helped me. And then the Muslim extremists around her were able to pursue her, drag her out from the teacher's office where she went to, and they stoned her to death and they burned her. This is just one incident. There are several incidences where Christians are murdered and buried in mass graves in Nigeria because the Nigerian state has a policy to reintegrate and rehabilitate non-terrorists into the Nigerian state. So when you are a government and you reintegrate non-terrorists into the country, what kind of country are you going to be building? So you have situations where the reintegrated terrorists, they take over the indigenous people's community, especially the Christian communities, like in Southern Kaduna, in Jos, in Plateau, in Biafra land. Recently, between December 2024 and today, we've had over hundreds of Christians that were killed in Biafra land by the Fulani terrorists and the reintegrated terrorists wearing Nigerian military and police uniform. This is what the Christians go through in Nigeria over the years. There is no solution. There is no comment from the government. Everybody just turns a deaf ear. And that was part of the reason why the United States of Biafra has declared their independence, because we cannot continue to live in a country where the government reintegrates non-terrorists into the police, into the military, and send them down to the Biafra territory to kill anyone that talks about Biafra, anyone that talks about their independence. And mostly all Biafrans are Christians. So that's what's been going on. There's several instances too.
So you are saying, am I understanding you correctly, that the Nigerian federal government is actively aiding the jihad terrorists?
Definitely, by reintegrating non-terrorists into the country.
Do you think that this is a connection to the fact that the former president was a Fulani himself?
Again, over the years, in the past leadership in Nigeria, we have had more of these Islamic leaders that have ruled Nigeria. So if you have been, I know as you are aware, Nigeria is supposed to be a secular state where we have equal representation of both Christians and Muslims. But the country is now an Islamic state. It was declared as an Islamic state by Britain without the permission of the Christians. So Nigeria has been dragged into the IOC without the permission of the Christians. So there has been a systemic plan to Islamize the country where we are really right now. So it has been like that, and that is what is really going on, which has led to the loss of life of so many Christians and innocent indigents inside Nigeria.
Nivea Nourishing Cocoa Body Lotion, now with 5-in-1 complete care. The deeply nourishing formula prevents your skin from drying out. With precious cocoa.
Yes. Thank you. With the leader of your movement in prison and Kanu in prison, what are the real prospects, though, for you being able to establish a genuinely independent state that is free from interference from the Nigerian government and military?
Thank you so much for that question. So we've been following all the allowed laws that guide the establishment of a new nation. We have our geographical area already mapped out. We've been building alliances with countries like the Eritrean government in exile, the Amazonia government, and several other countries that really recognized Biafra between 1967 and 1970, but never ever surrendered or say they no longer support us. So those alliances have been built. And we are following every step as a nation with the cabinet already set up, following all the due process to ensure that we go through the legal processes for United States of Biafra to be recognized as one of the newest independent nations in the world. So we are going through the allowed legal process by the United Nations, by the African Charter. All that is being put in place at this time to make our country recognized all over the world.
So have you received any positive responses from the UN or from other states or the United States for that matter?
Again, all that is in process. Just remember, we just declared our independence in November 2024. So our legal department are putting all the right papers in the right table to ensure that those recognitions come. But like I said, we already got a couple of recognitions from some of our allies, and we are the nation was invited during the Donald Trump inauguration. We were in Washington, D.C., of which Nigeria was never invited. And I believe there's several human rights reports about the injustices, the abuse of human rights, the killing of Christians, both by the United Nations, by the African Union, and other bodies. So we are in the process of doing that, and we're getting a lot of positive response in building a very free nation, devoid of jihadism, devoid of persecution, where human rights are respected, where people rights are also respected. So we are in the course of doing that right now.
You know, that's fascinating. Did you say that the Trump administration invited your group to the inauguration and not the Nigerian government?
Yes. Nigerian government was not there, and if you recently Trump has cut off the U.S. aid to Nigeria, about $1.2 billion that they send to Nigeria every year. That has been cut off. It has been stopped because the abuse by the Nigerian government is huge, but at every step, they have used the network they have either in Europe or in France to suppress the freedom of indigenous Nigeria, especially the Biafrans. So even the United, when they arrested the leader, Nnamdi Kanu, there was a committee set up by the United Nations to look into the case because Nigerian government planned and they kidnapped Nnamdi Kanu from Kenya to Nigeria. Nnamdi Kanu has been in DSS dungeon now for almost 5 years, going to 5 years. Even though there was a committee on the arbitrary detention of innocent citizens, that committee of the United Nations sat and they ordered Nigeria to release Nnamdi Kanu and compensate him. Till today, that has not happened. So these human rights abuses is what Even in the United Nations Committee on Human Rights 2 years ago, when Nigeria applied to be part of that committee, Nigeria got only about 2 or 3 votes. Countries like Ghana, countries like Kenya are making huge impact in the areas of human rights, in the areas of freedom of their citizens. But Nigeria has been it's just a failed state, has been deteriorating by the second.
Yes, that does seem clear. And it's an excellent sign, really, to get that invitation from Trump, because Trump, of course, has very clearly set out a path since he's become president again of trying to establish a new order in the world, not a new world order, which is what the other people are all about, but try to end some of the madness of the United States giving aid to failed terror states such as the government of Nigeria and the Palestinians and so on, and instead aiding genuine struggles of indigenous peoples for independence. And so I hope that that will be followed through by this administration in terms of genuine support for the struggle of the people of Biafra and aid for them to be able to establish their independence. What do you think of the prospects, however, on a more negative note, unfortunately, of a war starting like the war that took place between 1967 and 70?
Thank you so much, and I thank you for that comment. Where the expectation of Biafrans is we get the support from the United States of America, and again, we already see some signs to that, and we are very, very happy at where we are right now. In the area of the war breaking out, or what happened between 1967 and now, I have to let you know that is a different scenario right now. So many things have changed. In the area of the information that the world have right now on what Biafrans went through between 1967 and 1970. There's a lot of awareness right now that's being created by Biafrans all over the world that we all need to go home and develop our nation. Unlike in the past, where there is suppression, there's limited information of what is happening inside the Biafra territory. During the 1967 to 1970 war, Nigeria carried out a mass starvation of innocent kids. We are over 3 million, and almost 3 to 5 million innocent Biafrans were starved to death, because they didn't have the right information. Some of the countries in the world didn't even know what is happening. So many things have changed. We don't expect that. The killings that are being done by the Nigerian state on a daily basis, even as of 2 days ago, some of the images are so gory. And when you see the pattern of these killings are patterned after jihadism, after the terrorism, because Biafrans are by nature very, it is difficult for Biafrans to spill blood. But what happens is that the delegitimized Nigerian governors that are occupying the Biafra territory in the southeast and south part of Nigeria, working collaboratively with the Nigerian state, they ship all these killers, all these mercenaries into the Biafra land. So the world has more information right now on what is happening in Biafra territory. That is why the way we are going about it right now is definitely going to be different from what obtained between 1967 and 1970.
I certainly hope so. And in conclusion, what would you say to the Christians and other people of goodwill around the world about the struggle of the people of Biafra today?
Thank you so much for that question. Christians in Nigeria are begging to leave. We are begging to leave. People are attacked in their homes with guns, with AK-47, with machetes. People are butchered while they are sleeping. Innocent children are butchered. Women and girls are raped in the bushes. Christians cannot converge and practice their religion securely, safely in Biafra land, in and in other parts of Nigeria. What I have to say is that we have to be persistent. We have to carve out a country where both Christians and Muslims have the right to exist without anyone killing each other. But what happens in Nigeria is that you have a country where there is an agenda to Islamize the whole country. And this plan is being perpetuated, is being carried out by the Nigeria state. Currently, the Prime Minister of the United States of Biafra is being detained and incarcerated in Finland by the Finnish authority on a very flimsy excuse that Simon Ekpa, who is our Prime Minister, is inciting Biafrans. How can you incite people that are just begging to leave? People that are killed by their hundreds every day. And we have our leader, Prime Minister Simon Ekpa, Nigerian government, through their Foreign Affairs Minister, Bianca Ojukwu, has just laid up some truncated charges against our Prime Minister. And Finland arrested him just 2 weeks before we declared our independence. But Biafrans, mostly who are Christians, we were resolute. We all converged in Finland. We were able to declare our independence despite Finland holding our Prime Minister to truncate that process. So that shows that you cannot just defeat an ideology. We are Christians. We are begging to live. We do not want to live in a country whose policy is to rehabilitate and reintegrate non-terrorists like Boko Haram into the military, into the police. Nothing is secure. So I encourage Biafrans to be resolute. I encourage Christians all over Nigeria to be resolute. We have to stick our ground and ensure that it is okay for self-determination. It is okay for self-defense. These are rights that are guaranteed by the United Nations, by the African Charter. But the Nigerian government, as is currently constituted, is trying to take that freedom away from us. So we are not going to back down. It is our right to choose who is going to be our leader. It is our right to defend our people from the reintegrated terrorists that are coming to kill us. It is our right to go back and develop Biafra land. By the declaration we've done, we are going to go home and practice our religion and not be scared. Just as it happens in near Ebonyi State a few days ago, where people were in the church and they came in and gunned down almost 30 people. Just like that, including innocent children. These children did not commit any crime. Their crime is just to exist in a nation called Nigeria. How long are we going to be forced to live in a country where the president never make any statement to these killings? No remorse. The governor's nothing. All the governor did was do not retaliate. How long are they going to continue to tell us do not retaliate? And we are massacred by the day, by the night. So we are pursuing the course, our freedom to self-defend our land, to self-defend our people, using every legal available means to ensure that our people are not murdered every single day.
Excellently stated, and thank you. I would observe that the government of Finland is acting like Western governments all over Europe as well as North America.